Our problem is x is less than 1 over x. So first step, move everything to one side. In class, you moved it to the right, so I'm going to do the same thing. And then combine it into one fraction. So it's 1 minus x squared over x. Factor 1 minus x, 1 plus x over x. And then find your key numbers. And remember, key numbers are where the top and bottom are 0. So key numbers, the top is 0 when x is 1 and negative 1, and the bottom is 0 when x is 0. Plot these key numbers on a number line, -1, 0, 1, and then test your intervals. So here are just random numbers that are in the intervals that we can test. And you actually only need to test one of them because we have that trick of going back and forth or it's staying the same depending on the degree of the factor. So in class we tested -2. So if we test -2, you get -2. So 1 minus -2 is 1 plus 2, which is 3, which is positive. And then 1 plus -2 is -1, so that's negative. And then -2 itself is negative. So this whole thing is positive. So here I have a positive. Now all of these factors are odd degree, they're all degree 1. So we just switch back and forth. Remember, as you pass over a factor of odd degree, you switch, and then of even degree, you stay the same. So these are all odd degrees. -1 corresponds to 1 plus x, 0 corresponds to x, and 1 corresponds to 1 minus x. Okay, so we did all that in class. So the last step is you have to look at your inequality, and we want it to be greater than 0, right? The 0 is less than it. So we want the ones that are positive. So we want that interval, and we want that interval. Now an important part to do is on your number line, you need to indicate whether at the key numbers it's an open or a closed circle. When the denominator is 0, it's always an open circle because you can't divide by 0. When the numerator is 0, it's an open circle if you have a strict inequality, if it's strictly less than or strictly greater than. And it's a closed circle if you have a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So here we have a strict inequality, so we're going to have open circles here. Okay, so final step, we want those positive intervals, so x is in, the first interval is -infinity, it's -1, and the second interval is 0 to 1. And that's that final step that I didn't do in class. Okay, and then I'll do one more problem. And it's going to be x minus 1 over x squared minus x minus 2. So to do these, you have to brush up on your factoring, which you learn in algebra, I believe. So everything's always already on one side. We don't have to move everything to one side. So factor, we have x minus 1 over x minus 2, x plus 1. Okay, key numbers. Top is 0 when x is 1, bottom is 0 when x is 2, and -1. Oops. Ignore that squiggly. Plot it on a number line. The spacing doesn't really matter. Okay, open or close circles. Open circles when the denominator is 0, because you can't divide by 0, so open circles at 2 and -1. And then 1 is when the top is 0, and I have or equal to 0, so it's a closed circle. Because I can be 0. Okay, test your intervals. So again, here are some numbers that you can test. And for simplicity's sake, we'll test 0. It's easy to plug in. If you test 0 to get -1 on the top, so negative, -2, and 1. So this whole thing is positive. Okay, and then again, these are all odd degrees. They're all degree 1. So -1 corresponds to x plus 1. That's an odd. You switch. 1 is x minus 1. That's odd. Switch. 3 is for x minus 2. Odd degree. Switch. Sorry, 2 is for x minus 2. That's odd degree. Switch. Okay, and then the last step, we want greater than or equal to 0. So we want the positives. So that's x is in, open, -1, 1, close. Union, open, 2, infinity, open. There you go.